Welcome to the Tiny Chapel. Uh, I'm a mess today. Je me suis réveillé comme ça. I woke up like this. But I had a dream in the night, and I normally uh, don't have dreams about religious topics, but uh, tonight I did, and it actually related to my family from Mississippi. So I wanted to go over that and bring us down to a Bible verse that encapsulates this and relates to my dream, if I could. Now, my great grandfather uh, was one of 9 children, and his father, my great great grandfather, was a Baptist pastor and missionary to Mississippi. When he first went down there in 1842, the population in Memphis was 800 people, and the population in North Mississippi more scattered still. In any event, he had 9 children, and they were Anne, William, my great-grandfather George, his brother Ben, let's see here, then John, Patrick, Harriet, Susie, and Mary Manassas. All right. Now, 3 of these brothers, including my forebear, served in the Civil War, and one of them, William, was killed in the war, and 2 of the 2 survivors returned home to Mississippi, as their father explained, downhearted and impoverished. The family lost all of their money, all, in the Civil War. All of their money then had been turned into Confederate money, and that was valueless after the war. And so they went to the real wilds in Jefferson County near Rodney and raised cotton with a view to getting some money so that the boys could complete their educations, and the girls too, and they did. All right. So let's see. My forebear completed his pastoral studies, became a minister of the gospel, a Baptist. His brother Ben became a doctor. His other brother Patrick became a professor of English at Ole Miss. John took his degree and was a missionary. He got the good post. He was a missionary to Italy, folks. And I believe of the girls, Susie took a college degree, as did Mary Manassas. So they got themselves educated, although starting from virtually nothing. All right. When the patriarch of this family of hardworking Baptists died, the inscription on his tombstone is this. It's from 2 Timothy 2:15, and it reads like this: "A workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth." A workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. So this inscription referred to EC, the dad, as a workman that needeth not be ashamed. Now, this business dividing the word of truth, actually in the Greek, it relates to laying out a straight line. All right? So laying out a straight line as you might to build a road, or to make a furrow in a farmer's field. So the implication, even by the time of St. Paul in the 1st century, was to manage things rightly. Okay? So he is credited on his epitaph here with managing things rightly in the way that he preached the gospel. And this, I would say, is reflected in a piece of correspondence I have with him, a little bio where he rejoices that all of his children came to Jesus, and credits their eventual success in the world, as it were. That is to say, that they got their degrees and became useful citizens as doctors, professors of English, professors in the Baptist seminary, Baptist pastors and missionaries, and so forth, to this fact that they have received Jesus Christ. Now, I do want to mention, even though this is going a little longer than usual for my 5-minute sermon, a remarkable thing, remarkable to me. Of course, it's my family, but that the second youngest here, Susie, right? Susie was born in 1860 and died in 1954. And her sister, the last child, Mary Manassas, whose middle name reflected the great Confederate victory at Manassas, you see, was born in 1861 and died in 1953. Excuse me. Now, these two young women were born into a household that had 2 slaves and a little slave baby, which I'm able to see in both the 1850 and the 1860 census. And E.C. says that when the war ended, his servants went where they pleased, meaning they pleased not to remain as servants, I take it. Now, here's the thing. As a little child, as a 4-year-old child, I met Susie, who was always called Cousin Susie, though in fact, with respect to my branch of the family, she was a great aunt, okay, being my great-grandfather's sister. And I met her, but she was quite an old lady and I was quite a little boy. So this to me is amazing, that here this woman who was born in a house to be cared for by slaves, who probably, though I didn't discuss it with her, remembered the end of the war and remembered the return of her 2 brothers who survived, their return from the Civil War, from Lee's army in the one case and from a cavalry regiment in the other, that I held this woman's hand in my lifetime. So we can see there that really, to me, an amazing passage of time represented there. And I make no excuses for slave owning folks or anything like that. I'm just pointing out that was the situation there at the time, you know, and they had 9 children and these 2 servants. So that's the situation. But I think it's remarkable. And I think it is a testimony, the success of these children, in spite of being utterly penniless and impoverished at the end of the war. The family did manage to pull itself up again by its bootstraps, and all of them lived well and respectable and useful lives. So again, the verse from 2 Timothy 2:15, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. Let us all be such workmen that needeth not be ashamed. Okay? And spread the word of truth. God bless you, and goodbye from the tiny chapel.